Australian teenager, hacked Microsoft, stole secrets from the US military, leaked video games worth over $100 million. The FBI hunted him for years, and even today, they still haven't caught him. This is not a Hollywood movie. This is a true story. The story of Dylan Wheeler, an ordinary kid, a quiet boy with an extraordinary obsession to understand every single line of code that crossed his screen, a boy who challenged billion-dollar corporations, who humiliated one of the most powerful governments on the planet, and who became a digital ghost impossible to catch. Get ready, because what you're about to see is one of the most shocking stories in modern hacking, a story the FBI would rather you forget. Subscribe now, because this journey is just beginning. The origin of the ghost. Perth, Australia, a quiet city far from the chaos of Silicon Valley. There, a boy named Dylan Wheeler spent his nights locked in a small room. From a very young age, he showed exceptional skills in computing. He didn't have a high-tech lab or powerful contacts, not even a proper computer, just an old, worn-out laptop and a curiosity so fierce that soon he would begin to break every rule. While other teenagers slept, Dylan explored underground forums, studied vulnerabilities, and learned exploits that even Microsoft engineers hadn't imagined. He was just 15 and already playing a digital game that would change his life and the video game industry forever. What Dylan discovered in those forums didn't just open forbidden doors. It revealed a path that would change gaming history forever. And worse, it placed his name among the most dangerous cybercriminals on the planet. The birth of Xbox Underground, industrial piracy. When a game stops being just a game, in those dark corners of the internet, Dylan met other young men with the same obsession: to tear down the digital walls of the biggest corporations. Boys from Canada, the United States, Europe, connected only through encrypted chats, united by a single mission: to find the keys to the Xbox empire. They didn't know it yet, but they were about to create Xbox Underground, a group that would go down in history for all the wrong reasons. If you've ever wondered what would happen if a group of fearless kids challenged the most powerful corporations in the world, stay tuned, because what comes next is even more dangerous. What began as simple game mods turned into an unprecedented web of illegal access. Dylan Wheeler and a handful of young hackers discovered Microsoft had left the door slightly open, and they had the keys. Million-dollar thefts and secrets of war. Using stolen credentials from a contractor, they broke into Microsoft's internal servers. We're not talking about cheat codes or minor tricks. We're talking about access to projects not even announced to the public. According to the U.S. Department of Justice, between 2010 and 2013, the group infiltrated the private networks of Microsoft, Epic Games, Valve. They stole source code for games, including Gears of War 3, Xbox One development kits, and internal documentation valued at over $100 million. But they didn't stop there. One of their biggest achievements, or crimes depending on the law, was hacking the servers of the U.S. Army. Not to steal weapons, but something even more delicate: training software for Apache helicopter pilots. A tool of war in the hands of teenagers who didn't even have driver's licenses. Subscribe, because what comes next is wilder than any hacker movie. Operations and the Xbox One prototype. With the stolen information, the group managed to assemble a working prototype of the Xbox One console months before its official release. They tried to sell the hardware online, but the operation was detected by undercover FBI agents. That discovery triggered an international investigation targeting everyone involved. The FBI spent months trying to track them. Each day, Xbox Underground penetrated deeper into corporate and government networks, and each night, Dylan and his team celebrated, from ordinary bedrooms with second-hand laptops. Accusations and arrests from keyboard to the most wanted list. But adrenaline comes with a price. While they thought they were playing, Microsoft and Epic Games began tightening the net. Anonymous activity logs pointed to IP addresses in Australia. Dylan Wheeler was leaving a trail. By the time Microsoft finally discovered who the boy behind the keyboard really was, it was too late. The FBI was already watching. And what once seemed like just a game was about to become a federal crime. With decades of prison on the table, the teenager who hacked the giant was about to face the most powerful country on earth. The U.S. government considered him a national security threat for breaching even the systems of the American military. At just 19 years old, Dylan Wheeler faced more years in prison than he had been alive. An Australian judge ordered him to surrender his passport and not leave the country while the case moved forward. He was under surveillance, his future fading by the minute. Other members of the group, David Pecora, Nathan LaRue, and Austin Alcala, were arrested in the U.S. and sentenced to prison terms of up to 18 months. But no one could have imagined what would come next. Not even the FBI, because Dylan Wheeler was about to prove that escaping the system was as easy for him as hacking it. Dylan's escape, his mother, the sacrifice, and the family's fall. Unlike his teammates, Wheeler was never extradited. With the help of his mother, Anna Wheeler, Dylan did the unthinkable. He evaded judicial custody, obtained a new passport, and disappeared from the radar of the authorities. But Dylan's freedom came with a devastating price. A mother willing to sacrifice everything to save her son from an American prison. Anna wasn't a hacker. She knew nothing about servers or exploits. She was just a mother who saw the world trying to lock her son away forever and chose to protect him, no matter the cost. When she was arrested, she said only one thing: "I would do it again. He's my son." Anna Wheeler was arrested, tried, and sentenced to more than 2 years in prison for helping her own child. The system called her a criminal. She called it motherly love. Anna eventually walked out of prison, but the family wound never healed. Because even though she freed her son, the price was losing him forever. If you think this story is unbelievable, what comes next is even more unexpected. Subscribe and stay with us, because Dylan's escape was only the beginning of a life lived in the shadows. Life as a fugitive, when escape isn't freedom. After fleeing Australia, Dylan lived like a ghost. Dubai, the Czech Republic, Eastern European cities, false documents, fake names, and one goal: leave no trace. He avoided any internet connection that could expose him. He tried to reinvent himself, offering cybersecurity services, helping companies defend themselves from people like he once was. But the past haunted him, because being a fugitive is living in a prison without bars. He always denied the conspiracy charges, claiming the FBI exaggerated his role in Xbox Underground. For many, he remained an unrepentant criminal. For others, a genius who just needed a second chance. If you've made it this far, it's because this story grips you as much as it does us. Subscribe and comment. Do you believe in Dylan's redemption, or do some mistakes never get erased? Consequences and legacy. 10 years later, Dylan Wheeler is still a free man. His fellow Xbox Underground members were arrested, tried, some broken emotionally, others trying to rebuild their lives. But Dylan Wheeler stopped being just a hacker. He became a digital ghost that no government has ever been able to catch. The FBI declared him a fugitive, and to this day, they have never located him nor extradited him. The case forced Microsoft and other companies to reinforce their security protocols, changing forever how source code and development kits are protected. Where is Dylan Wheeler today? According to recent reports, Dylan Wheeler lives in Eastern Europe under another identity. Today, Dylan Wheeler is still a free man. But the question is, for how long? With the FBI still interested and old corporate enemies tracking his steps, His freedom hangs by an invisible thread. He can change countries, change names, even change faces. But the real question is, can someone truly change their destiny? One thing is undeniable. Dylan Wheeler changed the hacking world forever. His story is a warning of how far curiosity can go, and the price we pay when we cross the line between exploration and crime. The story of Dylan Wheeler is also a reminder of the impact a small group of teenagers can have on tech giants and even military systems. Dylan escaped the FBI, but he could never escape the shadow of his past. Does he deserve a second chance, or should he finally face justice? This was Drakonomic, and this was the story of Dylan Wheeler, the teenager who hacked the giant, escaped the most powerful country on Earth, and today lives trapped inside the web of his own past.